All right, I'm ready. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone
Hello.
to Kayfeine Conversation.
Hello, Kay.
Hey Fee, how are
How are
you?
you?
I know it's been a while.
It has been a while. You made it back to this side of the state.
Yes, yes. We wanted to update our fans on our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been? I know I've had a lot of comments from our viewers and listeners that
Mm-hmm.
they've been missing us, so we thought we'd give them a quick little update of where we've been and what we've been up to. But we are
So
going
that
to
the
give you
Kayfeine
all,
fans know what we're up to. We have to let you all know.
yes. We are going to come back and go into greater detail on April 2, just ahead
Mm-hmm.
of the new season of Love, Marriage, and Huntsville. But in the meantime, we thought we'd do a quick little update.
Well, you know I'm excited. Ready to see my boy
I do.
Martell. I'm excited about the film coming back.
I guess.
Yeah, I
Y'all know
never
how I feel about
been
Martell.
a fan. I'm a fan of all the cast members, if I'm honest. Even Mr. Mel.
Don't start on Mel. It's too soon.
I'm not. I'm not.
Don't do it.
I'm You know
Don't
what?
do it.
I'm gonna give her a chance. I was Mel's number one fan. I was a millimeter, and then somewhere I fell off the ship. But hopefully this season they give me something to get back on the ship.
Well, even just as women, you know, I know we should be able to be impartial and can see both sides of the spectrum, but I'm always gonna ride for women, because these men out here, they trife. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm a ride for what's right, male or female. I'm a ride for what's right. But how was your trip? I'm glad she's back. So, Kayfeine fans, in case you all didn't know, we've been traveling. So, Kay
Yes.
and I have been on different time zones. She has been in Korea. She's been in Thailand.
Yes.
How many hours is that?
Well, what we did when we were going to Thailand, we spent the weekend just to break up. We all on the other side of 50, so we don't. I know for me personally, I don't travel that well anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
I suggested that we did the weekend. We traveled 15 hours to South Korea.
Okay.
Then we spent the weekend in Korea doing, touristy things. And then we traveled on to Bangkok, which was another 6.5, 7 hour flight.
Mm-hmm.
So in going, I'm not sure, but coming back, it took me every bit of 45 hours to get home. And that I did straight.
What was the time zone difference between here, where I am,
All right.
to where you are?
So while I was in South Korea, there was a 13-hour time difference.
That's what
So
it
I
was.
was already on a Thursday afternoon when you were just getting home after work
Absolutely.
on a Wednesday. So it was a lot. And then I went with my sister who was turning 50.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to know my sister. My sister got a battery pack behind her, and she wants to do all the things. And it was a lot. It was a lot. I had swollen ankles and all
If I'm
the
going
rest of
to travel that far, I'm going to ball out. I don't care how tired I am. I mean, you don't get to
it.
go to Bangkok in Thailand every day. So when I'm there, I'm going to ball out like it's 1999.
That's all good and well until you get there, okay? And you got swollen ankles and adjusting to the time difference. I did a lot of things, but some things I had to tell my sister come 3 p.m. I had to tap out after we
Mm-hmm.
were hiking and walking. And I am all for those things, but my vacation, I don't want to be even more tired when I get home. It's
I
not a
get
vacation for me. So
it.
there
So
was
that's
like
what we've been, guys. She's been traveling. I'm more of a national travel. Kay is more international. And so I was traveling, I think 2 or 3 weekends in a row. And then when I got back, she was headed to Korea. So that's why we haven't been on. But
yeah.
again, we have to get on and update you guys. So,
Yeah, for
so
sure.
how
And
was it in
then
Bangkok?
and fans, when I got back, I had COVID. I worked in the ED at the height of COVID and never got COVID. But and I've been at home now like recouping. So I still
Yeah.
got like a terrible, terrible cough. But
Mm-hmm.
I should be back to work next week.
I hate that you had COVID. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back and we're here. So when we
So
come
how
back
was
to the
Thailand? How
second,
was Bangkok?
Bangkok was different. The thing that I enjoyed about our vacation, is that we did all, so we had like city life in Bangkok, country life in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and then we had resort beach experience when we went to Phuket.
Okay.
So I enjoyed all of it.
Hmm.
I could have done without Bangkok, but at
Hmm.
least I got to experience it. I don't think it's a country that I would be dying to go back to, but there were
Hmm.
definitely other places I would have liked to have seen in the Indian Ocean.
Hmm.
So being whether it was Vietnam, I would have loved to have gone to Vietnam. Once you go to, it's expensive to go, but to go to all those other places, it
Hmm.
would be cheap to go. Like once we got to Bangkok, we had in country flights to Phuket and to Chiang Mai.
Hmm.
The flights were only like $20, 20 US dollars. So, and
Okay.
it would have been just as cheap to go to Vietnam, but my sister, she wasn't down. My sister is vegan, so her eating options, she wasn't that thrilled. I wasn't thrilled with the food either
Yeah. Yeah.
while I was there.
Yeah. And speaking of traveling, one of the things that we were going to discuss today is just living your best life. And
Mm,
I think when you get our age, over 50, you understand the importance of trying to live your best life, which includes traveling,
yeah,
seeing the world. It's so many different cultures and art and food and music
yeah,
uh, in different places. I think about certain people that I know who haven't even been outside of their surrounding area. Say for instance they stay in Memphis, they haven't been outside of Memphis, Tennessee, or people here in Mississippi
yeah.
haven't been outside. But it's a whole big world out there,
It
people.
is. It is. And it's always interesting to go places and see how, for as different as we think we are, we're still just the same.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I enjoyed in Thailand was all the marketplaces that they have. They have the railway market where you get on a train, and their market is literally on the train tracks. And so they know when the train is coming, they'll lift up their goods, the train will go, and they'll put their goods back on the track. It's very much using everything that's there and not building all this concrete that we have here. As well as
Hmm.
we also went to one that's called the floating market, where you get in a canoe or a little boat, gondola, however you refer to it, and
Hmm.
you literally go down the water and you're stopping at different points to purchase whether it's food or goods.
Oh
That was,
wow, that's not
yeah,
amazing.
and it was again, and that's how they make their money.
Yeah, but
So
again,
I
it
enjoyed
goes
that.
back. Yeah, it goes back to living your best life and enjoy the world because tomorrow is not promised to
Yeah,
you. And I think we spend so much of our time working, trying to make a dollar, so we don't even enjoy the dollars that we make, or we don't even try to put aside. Because I've heard people say, "Well, I can't afford to travel." I remember college that I back in the day. This is probably 15 years ago. We didn't have the money to travel either, but we would save up all year. And so Biloxi is the closest beach to us. It's a 6-hour drive. So we
yeah,
would pack up some bologna sandwiches and put drinks and stuff in the cooler for the kids. And we would drive to Biloxi and lay out on the beach and spend the night in a Motel 6, 39.99. They left the lights on for us. You hear me?
yeah,
They left the lights. And, it was a vacation, but we got a chance to see something different. So sometimes it don't cost a whole lot just to see something
yeah,
outside, not necessarily internationally, but just going over to another state.
yeah. I, I
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I suppose you do what's important to you, and I
Hmm.
know we've talked about that, and I always give this analogy. Someone tell me to buy a bottle of wine, and the bottle of wine costs $10. I'm gonna say, oh my God, that's so expensive. It's not
Hmm.
important to me. I would not spend my $10 on a bottle of wine. But if
Hmm.
you tell me about a retreat or something that's in the line of self-care, whether it's going for a
Hmm.
massage, a facial, and they say, oh, the massage is 200, 300, $400, I'm gonna
Hmm.
say, oh my God, that is so cheap. And
Hmm.
that's something for me to pay because
Hmm.
it's taking care of me and I'm spending it on something that I enjoy.
Hmm.
Smoking and drinking, I would never spend $20 on a pack of cigarette. And to me,
Hmm.
that's crazy to spend that on
Cigarettes. That's gonna kill you off anyway. Yeah. And I think
exactly.
I think you made a very good point on what's important for you. I
Hmm.
know Jalen and I we've been planning our trip for this summer. We're going to Dubai in June. And she was looking up and she's like, "Hey, we can eat in the sky for $450 and eat in the sky." And I'm like,
Nothing.
"Let's do it because I can
Let's
do
do it.
uh, my food is important to me."
Yes, and that
Like,
experience.
$450. And as a matter of fact, when I told my husband, I said, babe, we're going to eat in the sky for $450. He said, no, for $450, we're going to the basement. I don't need to eat in the sky. But Jane and I, we was like, okay, we'll leave the guys and her and I will go because our food is important to us. So I'm glad you made the point about what's
It's not
important.
that the food is important, but it's the experience. And that is one of the things to do when you go to Dubai, is to have that experience. And it's amazing. So I'm sure, I know y'all are going to love it. And the guys are not going to want to be missed out. They're not going to want to miss that experience because everyone is going to be talking about it.
And that's why you have to travel, you have to see the world because it is an experience of a lifetime. I know even just going to Jamaica last year, that was a whole vibe over there. And it
Mm-hmm.
was an experience of a lifetime.
And I'm glad my country took care of y'all because, you know, that's us. We are the vibe people.
They
We love a
did.
vibe.
They did.
Yeah.
So
And another thing, what's important, and one of the things, there was definitely like a language barrier in Thailand, so you don't get to get the true essence, but the ones that I was able to communicate with and getting to understand how the country functioned, which is so important. And I know I've told you this before, just being there. We're gonna have a revolution here in America soon. I can see it because we think we are living this awesome life here. And all we're doing is working our fingers to the bones, and we're not living a quality life. And I think I mentioned this to you. I bought a bottle of water in Thailand, a huge bottle, for 40 bahts, which was like 40 or 20 bahts. It was the equivalent of like 30 cents, 30 US.
wow.
And we can't buy a bottle of water here for less than $2, $3, $4, $5,
Absolutely.
$7 for a bottle of water. And most places encourage you to have refillable items, so you can fill up your filtered water anywhere around the city, or if you go to an establishment. Why aren't we taking care of our people here that we work so hard for so little? And they have that balance of a quality life. You don't work your fingers to the bone and then you don't get to enjoy it. You can work however many hours and then you can go out and you're sitting at a cafe, you're going to the beach, you're going to a waterfall, you're hiking, you're biking. I know. We got
So basically, you see me being ripped off over here. That's amazing. You can get water for what, 29, 49
sense.
cents? Yeah. But something you said about retirement, it just rung a bell with me because we were having this conversation, Philip and I, that so many people, I'm still talking about living your best life. And for me, living my best life is just not traveling, it's also having a peace of mind. But we were talking about in regards to travel, so many people work, like you said, work your fingers to the bone, and they'd be like, okay, when I retire, I'm gonna travel here, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there. But then when they retire, they sick, they got diabetes, they can't even travel.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you don't work all your life to say when I get 65, I'm gonna go travel. But then when you're 65, because we didn't ate poorly all that time, we have all these comorbidities, so we can't travel because our health won't allow us. And so one of the things that Philip and I said that while we're young and we still have our strength, that we're going to live our best life, try to live our best life every day because tomorrow is not promised to us. And every year that God gives us health, we're going to try to find somewhere to travel, and not only expose ourselves to it, our kids, our grandkids. I think when we come back from Dubai, we're going to take another trip and try to start exposing our grandchildren to travel. Our kids have been exposed because they've been traveling with us for years. But then what about our grandkids? Because tomorrow, 65 ain't happen to you. People are dying at 25, 30 years old.
Exactly. And we see it so much in our profession. And I know we said we were going to talk about what we do and other things that we're doing. And another thing, I do want to definitely toot my buddy's horn here. So she finishes her doctorate program next month. So I'm so excited. And I've just started my journey to that. My course actually, it's only 1 year. So my stance on all the postgraduate thing, I only do one class at a time because undergraduate was stressful, postgraduate shouldn't be. So I'm a one class at a time and I'll get there in the end. But this program, it's 2 classes and I'm finishing a year. And that I intentionally did this program because I'm hoping that my new love that I've mentioned will be here soon. So
which program did you start?
This is the DN Pre program for educators.
For educators, okay.
at
It's
Arkansas
leadership
State.
or education. Okay, okay.
It's education. So
And I'm proud of
one
you
of the,
too. So let me say that too. I'm proud of you going back.
well, you knew that was always the goal. My intention was to start in 2020, and then COVID happened, and
Yeah.
it was just way too stressful with the push, So, but now I think I'm still not in best mind. I'm starting it with having COVID, being away when I started,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll get
So,
through it.
so
Once
speaking
I
of what
start,
you love in school, you sound like you're gonna have a busy life.
yeah, and hopefully he'll be here next year. I'm hoping he'll come and visit at least this year. If I know I'm going for his birthday, but hopefully he'll be able to come.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
my prayer. And
Mm-hmm.
when he finally comes permanently, I don't want to build up any resentment that I had this planned for myself, but then, there's this getting settled period for him, and I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
selfish in like, well, I got this to do, and then we're both trying to get settled at the same time. So I'm willing
Mm-hmm.
to push myself to get
So
through
when is
it.
his birthday?
August 31st.
Okay.
So, and I
So soon.
we spoke about it. I said if I come in May, March, April, June, there's no way I can turn around and then come for your birthday. And he said I would much prefer you to be here for my birthday than
Mm-hmm.
I go and then it's, oh, I wish you were here. I'm like, well, I can't come now. So
Mm-hmm.
that we finally, it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, celebrate something meaningful. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
instead of
So,
just going just to be going.
yeah. So you seem to be happy with your long distance love. Are you
Oh
still
yeah.
going?
And I
You
and I
still
think
going?
I think it's we're still going strong and still really into each other. It's like I don't know. I'm not saying I have all the answers, and we're going to talk about this on April 2nd once you get caught up on Queen's Court. Everyone's talking about it and just how amazing it is. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the points that we've been talking about, that when you finally understand your value as a person and what your values are, once you've defined those for yourself, and you're really just on a different journey to really finding meaningful partnership, meaningful love, your
Mm-hmm.
requirements are so much more defined that you can see the BS from a mile away. The
Mm-hmm.
things that you would attract you. And let me just start on this one point, and then we're going to definitely talk about it April 2nd. One thing that stood out for me was Tamar, and we all love Tamar and been following her journey into something different. When
Mm-hmm.
she entered episode 1 and what she was looking for versus episode 10 and what
Mm-hmm.
she found are
Okay.
so different. And I haven't heard anyone hit on those points yet on social media. That you realize it doesn't matter what the package look like. It's what the person is offering and what you're looking for. The packaging doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's that connection. It was awesome to see. And once you catch up, you'll be able to see it. It doesn't matter what the package look like. And once we all get past that,
As long as the package contains the gift or what, I don't even want to
it's
say the
what's
gift, what you
inside the
want.
package
Yeah,
is aligned
exactly.
with your
Yeah.
your your values. So again, we come from parentage that didn't quite tell you what you should be looking for in someone. You're out here
Mm-hmm.
trying to figuring out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get there and you understand it, it's
Yeah. And
it's
then
amazing.
too, knowing what you want, because when you, like you said, when you know what you want, you know how to cut out the riffraff when they come along, because you already know that ain't what I'm looking for. That ain't what or they're not going the same direction. They headed for New York.
Hmm.
I'm trying to head west to California. So I think it's so important that well, I'm not going to say young women as well as old women, that we set standards for ourselves, and we know what our values are, and we stick to it, and we know we need to already know what we want. So when something we don't want come along, we
Sometimes you
already know.
don't
Don't even
even
waste your
know.
time.
But that's the weird thing. Sometimes you don't even know. Like Tamar said it. She said,
When you
"I
get to
don't
a certain
even know what
age,
I
you
want."
do okay.
Hmm.
When you get to a certain age, you do know what you want. And I'm gonna tell you how I know that. Even with you and I, with our conversation, and we're not going to speak his name, but somebody you was talking to a few years ago, you was like, "This is not what I want. I want this." And then when you met Kevin, who you're talking to now, you was like, "This is everything that I wanted." Because he
Hmm.
does this, he does this, he includes me, he does this, he did because and you said that is what I wanted. So we do know what we want. But sometimes we do let the outer package
Influence too much, and and I can talk about this now because before I would never talk about certain things. I would never talk about, and I tell Kevin this. I've always like tried to protect my family and not mention them, or that's not the way to go, ladies. You have to be vocal about your experience. And I've
Mhm.
had to have this conversation with my mom too. And I said, you can't tell me not to talk about my experience. My experience is mine. And she gets
Mhm.
offended if you may mention things from your childhood. I said, you can't want to shroud me from not talking about what I experienced.
Absolutely.
Our perception may be different. And I
Mhm.
said, that's the issue. Now, for my mom, what she was looking for in a partner when we were growing up, I may be critical about that, but that's what she chose. My mom
Mhm.
wanted someone with pretty hair and nice skin. And now as an adult, I can say to her, yes, you could look for someone with pretty hair and nice skin, but I just wish you have had a little bit higher value of what you
Yeah.
were looking for. You also
Yeah.
wanted someone that was kind and a provider. It can't just be pretty hair and nice skin.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they have those, but they beat your ass. They stay out
Absolutely.
gambling. They
Yeah.
stay out drinking. They stay out getting high. How is that
Yeah.
someone of value that you wanted to have kids with and someone to be the head of your household? I said, and this is why here now at 80 something, you're by yourself. Sometimes I may go a little bit too hard, but if you want to have those kind of frank conversations, especially when you
Mhm.
talk about your girls.
Yeah.
And I tell you this all the time. My mom is not a great communicator by any
Mhm.
means. And I
Yeah.
understand that. Like
Mhm.
now I say to her, what would be that one thing that you would want to impart to your girls? Especially, Aaliyah now is 7. Oh,
Mhm.
she's too young. I said she's not too young. It's
Mhm.
only too young is how you have those conversations. What could you tell her now at 7? Hey, boo boo, when you get older, this is the kind of guy that you should, someone who is kind,
Yeah.
someone loving, someone who makes you
Mhm.
feel safe and secure, not someone who has pretty hair and nice skin.
Mhm. Mhm.
How is that person gonna take care of her?
Yeah.
You know, but
Especially in your 20s, you don't know what you want, but when you start getting 30s and 40s,
yeah,
that's real
but
conversations that we have to have with ourselves.
but that's the thing that I'm talking about. When you're looking to the elders in your family, how can you help the younger women, the younger girls in your family bypass a lot of the riffraff? You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
There has to be something that you've learned on your 80 plus
You
years
pass down
journey
wisdom. Yeah.
that you can share, and you
Yeah.
you should be able to then can tell them that's appropriate for them, that when even when they get older, you know what my grandma used to say to me, this is what she said, things that
Mhm.
they know it's coming from a genuine loving place that will always ring. My grandma
Yeah.
always used to say, look out for
Yeah.
this, pay attention to this is how you know someone cares for you.
Yeah.
It can't
And,
be
and,
the
they won't,
money
and
that
they
they're
won't forget it. They won't forget it. I remember my
they won't
great
forget.
grandmother when I was a little girl. He said, if a man loves you, he would never, hit you in your face. He would never hit you. If put his hands on you, if he really cares about you, and that has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
I probably was probably Aaliyah's age. I probably was 7 or 8, and I remember her saying it all the time. A man who loves you won't put his hand on you. He really will hit you in your face. At that time, when she said that, I had an aunt who was getting smacked around by her boyfriend, but she would always say that you
Yeah.
know. Mhm.
And you'd be surprised, even at that age, you're picking up those gems. You're paying attention to those
Mhm.
lessons. Who's at my door?
And I think that's why it's so important that as we get older and we learn lessons, that we do share them whether it's your children, whether it's your daughter, your nieces, your nephews, or whoever, or just another younger woman or teenager. Always share what you learn because you never know how it may help somebody else. Your
Yeah.
testimony may be somebody else's syllabus,
Yeah.
or their template for life. Just your
Well, that's where
testimony.
I'm at. And especially coming from a Black family. And you know how we do. Everything is kitchen table talk. You don't share
We're
your
gonna go with our
traumas.
phase in the house.
I don't subscribe to that anymore. I used to, and I said, and I always talk about it. This is why Mr. Brown, Mr. Green, Mr. Pink down the road has been the neighborhood molester for all these years because we don't talk about it. And then you get the next generation and the next generation falling into the trap, going down to Mr. Brown, Mr. Pink, Mr. Green's house because he's handing out candy. But nobody talks about the things that he do when you go in your house, in his house to get these things. So I'm all, no, we don't need to carry that shame. The man needs to carry the shame for molesting the kids in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
I have freed myself. And the thing is, when you free yourself from those traumas, you then live a more authentic life and you're able to let that love in, to be accepting of that love. Because we always thought the bad boy, when they're paying you attention, that's the love. No, you want the nerd in the background that's catering to you. And sometimes
absolutely.
what I've learned is sometimes we're only open to the love that we've been able to witness, which is the abusive love, the guy that say, "Oh, I'm gonna come slide through you," and they don't come and see you, and you like, "Where you went? When you coming? You said you were coming." And so we learn to live with disappointment, and then we get so excited when they pay us some attention, and then you're dating someone, but you don't see them for weeks on end. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are just the lessons I've
And that
learned.
comes from living in a lot of dysfunctional households. And when you
Yes,
live in dysfunction, you think dysfunction is normal, and
it's
it's not.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so open. It's so important that we as adults start learning to, because a lot of times Black people don't like to go to counseling. We have got to start going to counseling. We have got to lay on somebody's couch. And we have got to heal from our childhood trauma. We have got to start speaking to our young people.
Please be
Because when you
open
take
to it.
the power and you
You
can
got to
tell us,
talk about it.
this is what I've been through, and you don't have to go through it. We got to start having these open, transparent conversations with people. We have to start sharing life lessons because, like I said, our testimony could
I
be
think that's the
very
most
template.
important thing because even for us talking about it, the more I've learned, the more you talk about whatever those traumas are, whatever it is, the further it gets in your rear view mirror, it doesn't affect you as much, but you have to start talking about it. And whatever that means for you, whether it is counseling and talking to someone, getting a self-help book, whatever that means to you, writing it down. I have learned to start journaling now too, and even just getting it out, it helps so much. And like again, the more you talk about it, write it down, it gets further away from you, and it doesn't have that hold on you. And parents and family members, stop telling people to keep it to themselves. No, let it out. You didn't do anything wrong.
Or sometimes just pray about it. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, because I'm a big proponent of prayer. But
Right.
pray about it and go get you some help at the same time.
Please and thank you.
God to you, ask God to use
You have to put it into
yeah.
action. Yes,
Absolutely.
pray about it, but then you got to get into action to getting yourself healed and getting better and welcoming in that love that doesn't hurt, and for people who just accept you for who you are. One of the biggest thing, and I know we're probably coming up to where we're gonna have to end this. We didn't even intend for this to go as long as it went, but sometimes when you're having like honest conversation, it just flows out of you. One of the things I've learned is, for me, I would never tell people about my past trauma. I would just hold on to it. But I realized that was definitely a block why I wasn't getting the love that I know I deserve. That when I met Kevin, I was so ready, and I've prayed about it. I've done the work. I led with that, like, this is me. Because one of the things I've learned is, how can someone love you? How can another man love you when you have all of this, when the men in your life, like your father, didn't love you. They didn't stick around. They weren't there to show you the love and what it should look like
Yeah,
from a man loving you, right? How did
absolutely.
they didn't stick around, you know, so how can now this person come in and want to love me when so you tend to keep those things to yourself. But when I met Kevin, I was so ready that I led with that. I'm like, listen, these are all my
You did
hangups.
the work though. You did the work. That's
I
why
did the
you were
work
ready.
and understood that you needed to be vulnerable. You needed to be
Absolutely.
open and honest, and that, and I led with it, and he loved he loved me and liked me anyway.
Yeah, because when you build walls, you build walls to keep your heart safe, but you have to realize those same walls you have to keep your heart safe, people can't get through them. So
Yeah,
you do have to tear their wall down. And it takes, going to counseling, becoming whole, healing from your childhood trauma. And then one thing about it, when you don't heal, come to the next relationship broken. And two broken people don't make a whole.
at
You know,
all.
two whole people make a whole. And so if you want to have that relationship that brings you peace and happiness and joy, you have to come into it a whole person and not a broken person. Because what you're going to do, you're going to bleed on somebody that didn't even cut you, is what's
Yeah,
going to happen. And so, and it's so important that as we get older and we learn that we share it with the people that's coming behind us. I don't think we just learn these lessons just to hold on to it. I think
yeah,
we learn stuff so we
sure.
can impart it into somebody else.
Help
I know
someone
when I
else.
wrote that book, you were talking about writing and how freeing that was. I know when I wrote the book From a Whore to a Housewife, I didn't realize how much baggage I was still carrying until I started beginning to write. And when I was writing about the molting season, how my wings had been plucked out all of my life, you know, and when I started writing that, it gave me a lot of flashbacks, but it was also healing and freeing for me just to write that. When I wrote this second book about the top 10 gems of the Bible, for people who've read that book already, you know that in the back of the book are a lot of empty pages for you to write your story. And the reason I tell you to write your story, because again, your story can empower or help somebody else. You never know what your story do. My story may not can help them, but yours can, because you probably went through what they went through. So it's just so freeing to share your story and tell people how you made it over
Yeah,
to the other side.
sure.
And I think we need to start as women. We need to start doing more of that. We so busy trying to crowd crawl and trying to compete. The only person I'm trying to compete with every day is myself. I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. You know,
Exactly.
and so, but we
And
wake up trying to
also,
compete and
and
crowd crawl
also
instead of just trying to help each other.
get yourself one or two good friends. You don't
Mm-hmm,
need a whole bandwagon of people behind you that's just
mm-hmm,
sucking your energy dry. And I learned that I've had to share that with Kevin too,
mm-hmm,
because I think I was telling you this yesterday. He likes to have he got this save everybody. I'm like, you need to save yourself sometimes. You know,
yeah,
you need to make sure you're okay before you can help others. And
mm-hmm,
you get one or two good friends who support you and encourage you to do
mm-hmm,
well, and you push each other to do well in your
mm-hmm,
life and in this
mm-hmm.
world. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to be with someone who is have friends in your group who are envious of the things you do,
Mm-hmm,
and because words are powerful, and you're thinking you're sharing what you're going through and encouraging them, and all the while they're in the side on the sideline
being
just
jealous, yeah.
being
And you
jealous
think they
and
happy,
tearing you
you think they
down,
happy for you, and they really not.
and
They
they're
really
not.
not. And I was something I've always told Jalen, and I'm so glad you said that about having a bandwagon of friends. It's not about quantity; it's about quality.
It's about
It's so funny
quality.
if you got a bunch of friends, but if they don't have any quality, but if you have a small core group of quality women, those are the best friendships to have. It's not
Yeah,
about quantity. Yeah,
and it does get harder as you get older, because you know me,
absolutely.
it's real hard for me to make friends.
Yeah.
I gotta feel you out first, and if you want them gossipy people,
It's difficult because we have so many disgenuine people.
yes, yeah,
The people that they representatives show up, and then you realize, man, he really wasn't a friend, or not even they're not a friend, they're not even a good person,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And so, yeah, so I feel you on that. I feel
And
you on
like,
that.
and I know we always talk about this. If I tell you that tomorrow I want to be an astronaut, I don't need you to tell me like, girl, you know how old you are. No, yes, you can go be the best
Go
astronaut
to
you can.
Master Girl,
It is not,
go.
it is not your
Get it
role to tell me I
popping.
can't do it.
Get it popping.
That's it. Don't go be a dream crusher. Be a
Yeah.
dream enthusiast. Encourage your friend. Even in the background, you might be like, Lord, child, girl, guess what she said she want to be today. But
Hmm.
you know me, I'm gonna tell my friend, yes, she can.
But you know, it's never too late, and you should always encourage your friends to live out your dreams because it's never too late. I look at Sherry Shepherd, and she's in her 50s, and she always dreamed of having her own show. And she said, "Here I am in my 50s, living out my dreams."
Right.
So, you know, you never know. You know, it's not about our time anyway, it's about God's time. And so you should never be trying to crush anybody's dreams because it's never too late as long as you got breath in
Never
your
too
body.
late. You just never
Yeah, as
know.
long as you got breath
You
in your
might
body.
go and do it and be the best at it and end up in somebody's book being like just so.
Yeah,
We only
yeah,
passing around here one time. Today is the only day we gonna live of this day, so make it count.
absolutely. Because tomorrow's not promised.
It's
So,
it's
yeah,
it sure isn't. And if you have
yeah,
somebody in your life telling you that you can't, drop them. Don't give
yeah,
them a second
absolutely.
chance to tell you can't. Cut them
We
out.
started off this conversation talking about living your best life. In order to live your best life, you have to have good people around you, people with character, people who's rooting for you, people who's going to be
Yes.
your biggest cheerleader. Even when you don't want to cheer yourself on, they're going to be your cheerleader. And that's another part of living your best life. Who are you surrounded by?
Yes. I know
Surrounded by, because you know, my
my
grandmother
grandma
used to
used
say, birds of a feather flock together.
yeah, my grandma always used to say, "Show me your company and I'll tell you who you are."
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
and especially coming from a Caribbean household, they like to talk in riddles and parables, and you're like, "What the hell is she talking about?" It's not until you've lived enough life that you
Mm-hmm.
realize, "Oh my gosh, that's so true."
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
was I think I stopped in this part of my conversation. I was just saying that to Kevin. Not everyone needs to be on your bandwagon. Sometimes you got to stop at the bus stop and drop people off and go the journey alone or with
Say it
one or two
again.
people. You
Yeah.
not everyone you can't drag everyone behind you. And as I said to him, I didn't start becoming successful until I had to let people off at a stop
Mm-hmm.
and go along the road or just with one or two people in my
Mm-hmm.
corner. And
And
sometimes I still move that way.
sometimes you have to go alone. You know,
And
sometimes when
sometimes
God,
I do things and it's not until I've gotten through it that I say, well, I did this, this, and this, because sometimes maybe they have the best intentions for you, but they lead with negative. Like, and I'm not that I'm bashing my mom. My mom can be very negative. Like, even
yeah.
when I was buying my house 13 years ago, I never told her. Not until
Mm-hmm.
after I paid my earnest money and I was heading to the closing. And I said, well, this is what I'm doing. And she said, oh, and first, oh my God, how are you going to manage? I'm like, well, I still have to pay for somewhere to live. Might as
Yeah.
well, pay for a home that I'm living in. And now I pay less mortgage than some people paying rent. My mortgage is
Mm-hmm.
like $900, and I know people living in a one bedroom for $1,500 a month and no return. You have no return. You can't sell it and then have some return. I have equity now.
Yeah.
So
And I know what you're saying. There are people with negativity.
I
Feel
don't
it.
want to hear it, especially this stage in my life. I don't want to hear it. If it's all gonna blow up, let it blow up because at least I've tried, not because
Mm-hmm.
I get stuck. And but
And
again,
the thing about it, as long as you try, and you can say at the end of the day, I gave it a try. So
yeah,
what if you fail? But as long as you try, and I feel like you think some of the greatest people they fail first.
yes,
Everybody don't
and
succeed when they do something the first time.
some of the greatest lessons are is in the failing.
Failure. That's what the lessons are. Absolutely. Fail because you learn so much when you fail.
Yes,
That way, when you come back and do it again, and you were talking about the one or two people on the bandwagon, sometimes you go that road alone. You know, sometimes God calls you to something, but it wasn't a conference call. It was just for you.
yeah,
And sometimes you have to go by yourself.
yeah,
You know, sometimes you have to pat yourself on the back. Sometimes you have to be your own cheerleader. You
yeah.
know, that's just what I've learned. You know, in my right 80 to 51. Sometimes you have to walk this road alone, and it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. I'd rather walk it by myself than with a bunch of naysayers and haters and yeah.
Exactly. While you're building the boat, they're there punching holes in it. So of course it's gonna sink. In any case,
Absolutely.
everyone, thank you. We're gonna wrap it up here. Again,
I'm
join us
glad
on
you back.
I'm back. Join us on April 2nd and
Yes.
for another episode. We're gonna try and go into more detail about where we are, what we're doing, and our plan
Yeah.
for the season.
I cannot wait. I love Mary Huntsville. That's just my
Yeah.
show. Whenever I'm in Huntsville, I stop through Black. And when I tell you the guys are so, like down to earth, Maurice and Marceau, they just so down to earth, it's just I just love
I know
that
you go to
show.
Huntsville often. Have you been into their restaurant?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I said. When I go to Black, and I get Kayla like, hey, we got to go. I think I told you, we even got pictures with Marco and Maurice, Kayla and I. And so when we stopped in there the last time I was there, me and Kayla was actually going to the store, but I was like, hey, I got to stop at Black. So me and her just ran by there. And of course, the guys weren't in there, but Kimmy's son was in there. We spoke to him. And so I have to stop at Black when I go through. I have to support because that's my number one show.
Oh,
So I have
yeah.
to support. I done went from being a millimeter to a Martell, whatever you want to call it. So now it's not even about Martell and Melanie for me. It's all about Marceau for me. And of course, our girl Kimmy, she's coming through like a thoroughbred, and I just thank God for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay,
All
wait.
right, Kayfeine fans. I'm
We
Kay,
out here. I'm Fee.
and you're listening to Kayfeine
In
Conversation.
conversation. All right. Have a good
Bye.